Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. APW Sports signing in for another weekly Power Rankings, and we heading into week 12 of this NFL season. It's crazy to think that we're past halfway. A lot of teams have kind of established themselves as what they are at this point of the season, and things will be changing this week. I can guarantee you that. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Alright guys, here's my power rankings from last week, and like I said in the intro, these are definitely going to change. So let's just get right into it. Alright, so you guys know I always start off with the teams that don't have a bye. And Arizona Cardinals, the one that had a bye, had them at an A tier, going to keep them there. The Carolina Panthers, bye week, D tier, keep them there. The New York Giants, now I will say they finally did something right by benching Daniel Jones, so that's a smart thing on their end. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I had them at the B tier. I am going to keep them there. Don't play football, don't move. First, we're going to go with the Eagles versus the Washington Commanders. And I'm still going to keep the Commanders at A. And as far as best teams in the NFC, I'm going to put the Eagles at S. Defensively, they are finally starting to look like the unit that we thought that they could be. Offensively, they are starting to run the football very, very well with Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts is playing some smart, efficient football, not turning the ball over as much as we've seen from him earlier in the season. As far as the Commanders go, I think some of their offensive woes may show up a little bit here and there. Everybody wants to talk about the hotness of Jaden Daniels, and rightfully so. But this team has some flaws offensively and defensively. Sometimes they don't run the football as well. Sometimes the weapons don't get involved, especially with Terry McLaurin from The Ohio State University. Doesn't have a target until the third quarter. So it's not like the Washington Commanders are not a flawed football team. We've seen games where offensively it just doesn't click all the way like we thought it could be. But Jaden Daniels is still a rookie, so we have to take that in mind. And defensively, I'm not liking what their secondary looks like. We'll see how that changes whenever Marshawn Lattimore gets back in the lineup from The Ohio State University. But I have to put the Eagles at S the way they're playing right now. They're playing some really good football. Next, we're going to go to the damn Green Bay Packers versus my Bears. I'm keeping the Bears at C, and I had the Packers at B. I'm moving them up to A. Now, for the Bears' sake, you guys can watch my reaction, but a lot of people are going to blame Eberflus, rightfully so. I think he could have made some better decisions late game as far as getting a little extra yardage for Cairo Santos' field goal, and we could be talking a whole different conversation. The Bears let up the big play, and they didn't have consistent pass rush on Jordan Love. Now, as for the Packers' sake, they ran the football early. They didn't run the football particularly well late. Jordan Love made plays where there were plays to be made, and defensively, outside of the last draft when they got those back-to-back sacks, they didn't get a lot of pressure on Caleb Williams. While I do give the Bears credit for getting the ball out quickly, Jair Alexander's injury, it did prove to hurt them in this ball game. Their offensive line plays some really good football, and I like what this Packers team could potentially be, even though I hate them. It's just they are a very good football team. I have to give credit where credit is due. So the Bears at C, Packers at A. Next, we're going to have the Detroit Lions versus Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm keeping Detroit at A. I still think they are the best team in football. The way that Jared Goff is playing, you could argue he is in the MVP conversation. Amon-Ra St. Brown is having a hell of a season. Gibbs and Montgomery running the football. And that defensive unit, without Hutchinson, and they did have Zadarius Smith in the fold for the first time this week, that is a dominant, I'm not going to say dominant, wrong choice of words, but they are a very productive defensive unit, and Goff played a much cleaner game. And the Jaguars, I won't be surprised if Doug Peterson is fired within the next couple of days, maybe next week at some point. Even though they had the injuries to Lawrence, to Bigsby, it's just not a very good football team. Christian Kirk as well. Both sides of the football, Jaguars just stink. Next, we're going to have the Miami Dolphins versus the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Miami Dolphins, I'm keeping at the B tier, if I can find them. I'm keeping the Dolphins at B, and the Raiders, quarterback problems continue. We see what the difference a healthy Tua can make for this Dolphins offense. Defensively, they have played a lot better than what they have earlier in the season. They're getting after the quarterback, Calais Campbell, even at his elder age, is still making plays. You have Tyreek Hill starting to look like himself. Jaylon Waddle was bitten back and forth. And I think a lot of that is due to a healthy Tua and a Dolphins team that is starting to click a bit offensively and as a unit. And then the Raiders just are the Raiders. Bad football and all across the board for the Raiders. Next, we're going to have the Cleveland Browns versus the Saints. Browns at D. I'm keeping the Saints at C. Browns let up too many big plays. Defensively, they have a lot of injury. Defensively, it's just not the same unit, despite having Myles Garrett. Offensively, besides a few throws to Judy and a few plays by Winston, it's just not a very productive offense. And the Saints, they are still a team that I think we're seeing them play a little bit better after the Dennis Allen firing. But both teams, I just still think they're not very good football teams. But the Browns, Kevin Stefanski, I know he's been a coach of the year twice. It's just he had a lot of work cut out for him with the injuries and the lack of play. And I think this team it has some fixing to do. Next, we're going to have the Baltimore Ravens versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. We could say this was going to get to the week as the game of the week. I'm dropping the Ravens to A as much as it's crazy for me to do so. And I'm keeping the Steelers at the 8th spot as well. And the only reason I don't move the Steelers up to A, they just did not capitalize some of those drives into touchdowns. Defensively, they played a hell of a game. Derrick Henry, with the Ravens side of it, you got to get him the football late game situations and clutch situations. He only had 12 touches, which is unlike a Derrick Henry game, especially in a close game. So they get Derrick Henry to get him the football more than they didn't in the late game situation. And Pittsburgh just did not capitalize those drives into touchdowns. And it's not the first time that we've seen that from the Steelers offense. But that Steelers defense is absolutely elite. The Ravens defense did play better than what we've seen, but it's just offensively the Steelers just has to be consistent. That's the only reason I'm not moving them up to an A. Next, we have the Minnesota Vikings versus the Tennessee Titans. Keeping the Vikings at A and the Titans at D. I do like what I'm seeing from Sam Darnold. He's playing a little bit better. They are running the football better with Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. And defensively, they are still making havoc for people and still getting out the people. And then when we're talking about the Titans, it's just quarterback problem. Will Levis is not it. I do like what I'm seeing a little bit better from their defense. They have been playing a little bit better, but that offensive unit is just not good, and that all starts with the quarterback position. Today's video is brought to you by Cellular C4. This is a product that I personally used before I even decided to partner with them, and the first thing I got introduced to was the energy drinks by C4. This right here is a fruit punch flavor. They have many other flavors. They have popsicle flavors that just dropped. They have Skittles, Starburst, all the type of flavors that you want. To help you get started with your day, you can wake up in the morning before you start your day and drink you one of those. And also before you get that workout in, when it's workout day, you can take you some pre-workout to help you get the boost in your workout. All the products, 0 sugar, low calories. This is a great product to take you in your workouts and your journey on fitness to the next level. And I am happy to partner with a product that I was already using in my own personal life. And I will leave my code in the description below to save you guys 20% on your first purchase of C4, of their workouts. They even have muscle recovery to help boost after workouts. They have so many supplements and things to help you on your fitness journey, and you can get yours today in the description below. Click the link and use my code APW Sports to help you save 20%. And again, the links are in the description below. and use the code APW Sports to save you 20% on your purchase. Now, it is time to get back into the video. Next, we're going to go to the Colts versus the Jets. The Jets, the dumpster fire that they are. And Anthony Richardson, we've seen a bit of a resurgence from him with the Colts. And I think benching Anthony Richardson may have done him some good. And we saw him come out and play probably some of the best football of his young career. And then the Jets, they have lived up to zero expectations. They don't run the football well. Aaron Rodgers is a shell of himself. And that defense, since Robert Saleh has been fired, it's taking a nosedive. So I don't think Robert Saleh was really the problem with this football team. I just think they went all in on Aaron Rodgers, and it failed. At this point, it's failed. The Jets, pretty much a disaster, and there's no recovering from this at this point. Next, we have the Falcons versus the Broncos, and I'm going to be honest. I want to move the Broncos to an A, but I'm going to keep them at B. For now, I'm going to keep them at B. And the Falcons, I'm still going to keep the Falcons at B. It was just a dominant performance by that Broncos defense. I'm almost tempted to move the Broncos to an A, but I'm going to just leave them at B for now. That defense is special. That defense is a very good defense. And Bo Nix, Sean Payton has got him developing and playing some very, very good football. So when we're talking about this team, they are on the rise, and then the Falcons just look like pretty much a disaster on both sides of the football. Offensively and defensively, they just look like a disaster. So at this point, I am just going to keep them at B for now, but it did not look good. Next, we're going to go to the Seattle Seahawks versus the San Francisco 49ers. I'm dropping the 49ers to a B, and I'm keeping the Seahawks at B. The 49ers, they have too many injury problems. The 49ers just aren't the team that we thought we will be. Jawan Jennings being back in the lineup is proving big, and I might be crazy for saying this. You guys leave your thoughts. Debo is just not the receiver that we thought he would be. I haven't been big on Debo as far as pure wide receiver pretty much his whole career, but we know he can do some special things. It's just Debo does not look like the same Debo that we've seen probably maybe 2 or 3 years ago, maybe. Or the last 2 or 3 years, whatever way you want to put it. Debo is not that same receiver. Defensively, they have some injuries. Nick Bosa being out doesn't help. Offensively, they are starting to look a little bit better. It's just I'm not big on Debo right now. And Purdy has not been playing up to that level. And then we talk about Kittle being out too. Geno Smith made plays late for Seattle. Jackson Smith-Njigba from The Ohio State University has proven himself to be a very productive weapon in his offense. And Seattle defensively has played a bit better. Offensive line is still a little bit shaky at times, but he got enough to win yesterday. So, next we're going to go to the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills. I'm still keeping the Chiefs at S, and I'm still keeping the Bills at S. And I'm making this right now. Josh Allen is right now. I will probably pick him as my MVP. That late game touchdown run. The Chiefs offensively have just not been looking like the same team, and that's why the last 2 weeks I figured they were going to lose because offensively this team is just not clicking. It's really not. They have been running the football a little bit better. I think when they get Pacheco back is when you'll start to see them use the running game even more. Mahomes has not been looking like himself. Defensively, the Buffalo Bills, giving them credit, took advantage of a lot of things that they were doing. Josh Allen was really pinpoint accurate on side that stupid interception that he threw. And their left tackle position is a big problem for the Chiefs. They haven't been protecting Mahomes, and it's starting to show. And I think, could this be a signal of the Chiefs? I'm not going to say downfall, but chances of three-peating may be dwindling, especially with teams like Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and then you just get beat by Buffalo or really coming up in the AFC. Tough sledding right now. We got the Los Angeles Rams versus the New England Patriots. The Rams are hot. I'm keeping the Rams at B, and I'm keeping the Patriots at a D. Matthew Stafford with the healthy couple, with the healthy Nakua, started to look like a very good offensive unit with Williams. Defensively, that young unit with Durant, Turner, Verse up front has been playing a whole lot better of football as of these last couple of weeks. And the Rams are one of the more rising teams that we have in the NFL. And I really like what Stafford is doing. Patriots, like I said, all this season should have been developing as Drake May. And so far, Drake May is starting to look like he could potentially be a top quarterback, but we just got to give it time. Still play hard. They're still one of those teams that you don't want to face any day of the week because they have the potential to make an upset. They have the potential to beat you. It's just talent-wise, it's not there right now, and that's just fine. But I'm going to keep them at D. The Chargers and the Bengals, I want to put the Bengals as C, but I can't. That offense is just clicking too much. And I did say the Chargers were an average team. I take that back. That Chargers offense, especially against the Bengals, even though their defense is good, Justin Herbert played a lot better in that ball game. Defensively, they did miss Khalil Mack. Joey Bosa was kind of in and out. Denzel Perryman, they had some injuries on that defensive side of the ball for the Chargers. But when we're talking about that offense, they really exploded. And that J.K. Dobbins from the Ohio State University with the game-clutching touchdown. Then you had Herbert playing and throwing the ball all over the field. And defensively, I like what they're doing. I like what they're growing to be. Jim Harbaugh has his team kind of elevated. Then we're talking about the Bengals. That defense is just, that defense is not good. Hendrickson has been the bright spot on that defense, but that defense is giving up a lot of yards and a lot of points all season long. I think besides the offensive line protecting Burrow, that defense is a really big Achilles heel of this football team. And I think if that defense is a little bit better throughout the season, the Bengals will probably sit in a better spot than what they are right now. Last but not least, Texans and Cowboys. I'm keeping the Texans at A, and I'm keeping the Cowboys at D. I think the injuries really caught up to the Cowboys. The Texans really started to get things clicking offensively in that second half, and they pulled away from the Cowboys late. I'm like what I'm seeing from C.J. Stroud from the Ohio State University. It's just this team, I think it's just a bit inconsistently when we're talking about the Texans. They just have moments where they are inconsistent as a unit, but I think when things come together for them, they're one of the more harder teams to stop, and it does help that they got Nico Collins back this Monday night. And then the Cowboys, I mean, could it get any worse? Backup quarterback, offensive line injuries, defensive injuries. It's just not a very good team, not a very good coach team, and I just don't see them getting too much better from here. So that's why I'm going to keep them in a D. But these are my rankings for this week. You guys comment section down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.